This Saturday, 2 NFL games on the schedule, headlined by Packers and Bears, their third ever playoff meeting. Domonique, what's the number one thing you're watching for?
What version of Jordan Love we get off the injury and some time off. We know that sometimes he can black out and crush a team, and sometimes he can turn the ball over. We know how dependent this Bears defense is on creating those turnovers, but we know that Jordan Love, with the injuries and the rest around this team, he's going to have to push it. He's going to have to make big plays for this team, I think, to get past the Bears for the third time this season.
Let me tell you, the Chicago wing of the family is very, very excited for this matchup. 3 NFL games on Sunday, headlined by 49ers and Eagles. Jeff, Saturday, what are you watching for in that one?
Oh, how about Saquon Barkley and the run offense versus San Francisco's run defense? You saw what Seattle did to San Fran's defense. Charbonnet, I mean, they were, and Kenneth Walker were just moving the pocket. I mean, moving that line of scrimmage. This is what the Eagles need to do. It's what they want to be able to do. So I'm fired up to see Saquon and Tank Bigsby, honestly, and how they line up against this San Francisco defense.
I think they got a pretty decent draw. We'll dive into that. It all wraps up on Monday, our playoff Palooza, 5 consecutive days. This one, our game, Monday Night Football, Texans and Steelers. J-Mac, what are you watching?
How the hell do you block Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter for Aaron Rodgers? I do not want to play against these two guys in the way they get after the quarterback. They pressure him all day long, and once they get there, you better believe they're going to be bringing Rodgers down to the ground. They got to find a way to keep the quarterback clean. I don't know if they're doing that against Houston.
Yes, I jokingly thought to myself when they saw the matchup that they would get that the Steelers sideline should have been devastated by the missed field goal the other night, because it's the last thing in the world you want to see. All right, so that is this table being set for all of these playoff games we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we'll be on them all morning long. That said, tons of NFL news from Mr. Graziano. Let's run the hurry up, and let's start with Kevin Stefanski, who we know is no longer in Cleveland, but might not be out of work long.
Let go by the Browns yesterday, but I think that's just the beginning of the story for Kevin Stefanski this offseason. I do believe he will be of interest to several teams. You see our Adam Schefter reporting that he's expected to speak with at least 3 of the teams that have openings right now. This is a 2-time Coach of the Year who had success in Cleveland relative to anyone else who's coached there since they came back in '99. So, yeah, I do think he's going to be somebody people want to talk to in a year where most of the hot candidates seem to be defensive guys, and teams are still looking for offense.
What do we think, Jeff? Is there a spot there that makes sense immediately to me? Stefanski, obviously an offensive-minded coach. That's what people are looking for. One of those seem to make sense.
Yeah, I like the Falcons and the Giants, honestly. But I would say if you're looking at the Falcons, they have a good offensive line. They have good weapons in the backfield. They got Drake London. They got a good tight end. They may have to re-sign. But if you're Stefanski and you're walking in from the offensive side, that is the place that you not going to be a whole lot better place to just walk in and have talent sitting around your locker room.
And yet, the quarterback situation there scares me to death, because is the young one they drafted ever going to be healthy, and is the old one just at some point going to get too old?
I guess if you're Stefanski, at some point we kept linking Kirk Cousins to the Cleveland Browns while he was there because of their time in Minnesota. So maybe he looks at that and say, hey, maybe not for the future, but at least for a year I have Kirk Cousins. Stefanski had success in Cleveland. I think the coach of the years, we kind of blow it up, and he wasn't really successful down the stretch.
With Flacco, too. I mean, he's had
the young one down there isn't that young either, so I'm not sure that it's very optimistic situation in Atlanta. I think at least if he considers if the Giants give him a chance, he has an opportunity of a young quarterback with lower expectations, I think, with more of a chance to grow. So I think you get to Atlanta, they're expecting something pretty soon, especially the way they turn that defense around.
Absolutely. They won their last 4 games, finished in a tie for the division, and fired the coach. So obviously they have high expectations. Graziano, continue the hurry up here into Miami, because this is a situation I'm not sure I understand at all.
Well, they haven't done anything with the head coach, Mike McDaniel, who said yesterday he's still expecting to be the head coach until he's told otherwise. He said he's involved in the general manager search. Remember, they fired their general manager midway through the season, so they need a new one of those. We'll see here. I think Mike McDaniel ended the season on somewhat shaky ground, but seems to be good for now. If theoretically, the candidate pool were to improve, maybe that would be something that would get ownership's attention.
Could you expand on that thought?
If a coach shook loose that has won a Super Bowl or something like that, hypothetically.
A guy named Harbaugh, potentially.
He has won a Super Bowl. Look, I don't know what's going to happen in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, et cetera, but that's the kind of thing. Like, one of the reasons you keep your head coach if you're thinking about, whether to do that right now is, can you get someone better? Right. And, Mike McDaniel, they have had good years under him. It's not as if it's been a complete disaster the whole way through.
And he went to Jacksonville and he's like, hey, I'm not going to be there unless we move on. And even Shanahan with John Lynch, like those two positions, they have to link in and they have to be on the same page and they have to agree. And so whichever way you decide to go, it is very important. So whether you reset it all or not, you got to get that thing right.
In a related story, Tua Tagovailoa, when asked about a fresh start somewhere else yesterday, said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that would be dope.
That's what he said, yeah.
Is there, do you believe there is a spot that is sitting out there for Tua to be a starting quarterback next year?
Yeah, I think most teams are probably going to be pretty reluctant to go after Tua at this point. I'm sure he's going to get a shot somewhere else. But he's got to work his way back up, I think. The confidence in him feels like a shot. And then we also have the head injury history that I think factors into any decision. I think if you have him, if you were like Miami, you had him and he showed some success and then he had the concussions, then you stick with him. If you're a new team, I think it's going to be hard for a new team to walk out there and then sign up for a quarterback that's not playing well and has this really scary injury history.
Yeah, it would be, to me, this is going to be an injury-driven thing. Like you literally don't have anywhere else to look before you go find them. And that's no disrespect. With the injuries on top of the performance, you are buyer beware.
So a place that might be desperate. Speaking of desperate places, Las Vegas, Graziano. It was the last stop on our Run the Hurry Up tour. What's going on with the Raiders?
Someday we're going to look back and say, remember when Pete Carroll coached the Raiders? That was weird. It was 1 year. He got let go after 1 year by the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, this did not work out. The Raiders are going to pick first in the draft. They're going to have a new head coach next year. Tom Brady, who bought a stake in the team about a year ago and has had major influence ever since, and the general manager, John Spytek, who's Brady's guy. They work together in Tampa. They're going to head up the search for the new head coach, and they have to figure out quarterback, and it's another offseason of seeing what Brady's going to do.
So this is fascinating to me because every mock draft, and I mean, I live in this as much as anyone, and we have one this week on First Draft, which will drop tomorrow. Every mock draft is going to have the Raiders taking a quarterback at number 1, whether it's Fernando Mendoza or maybe Dante Moore goes crazy in the rest of the playoff and surpasses him. But Jeff, Saturday, you were shaking your head because you don't think the Raiders should do that.
No, absolutely not. Listen, you have a lot of spots on this football team that need to be bolstered before you think about bringing a quarterback in. We talk about more quarterbacks are ruined in the NFL. Yeah. This would be that situation. You're going to go into a bad offensive line. What do you expect? What are your expectations? This is a rebuild for this organization as a whole. I think trading the pick, adding to it, get some players around you, build the foundation of this, and then allow the quarterback to come in and kind of save the day.
It seems like it would be bad for the Raiders, and it seems like it would be bad for Mendoza or Dante. We talked about it, and I think Troy Aikman gave words to it. Given that he's a Hall of Fame player, I think people have more respect for and understand in a quarterback that it's really true, man. Like, there's so many different things that go into having success in football. If your team is at the bottom, which the Raiders are right now, adding a quarterback to it, no matter how talented he is, I don't think is the best for him or that team going forward. You need to have some infrastructure, something for him to lean on in order to have success.
And I think when you talk about that infrastructure, you're looking at a team that hired Pete Carroll last year, to your point, Graziano. Throughout the course of the season, they fired 2 coordinators. So whoever the next guy you're bringing in, you got to give him the control to bring in some of the guys he wants, to be involved in that decision, whether it is a Mendoza. Because you look at it, you draft Ashton Genty at the top of the draft a year ago, and you couldn't even get a really good running back off the ground because of the pieces that surround him. So now you imagine a first overall quarterback. How are you going to surround him with the right pieces to be able to find success early on?
Yeah, I mean, that's the mission. And again, we have a situation where Tom Brady's been empowered to make decisions effectively in the Raiders organization. Last year, he tried to get Ben Johnson and Matthew Stafford. He went 0 for 2. We'll see what the plan is this year.
Yeah, because people who have options are going to look at that and not view it as a favorable situation. Time a game we're calling quarterback or forward. Domonique.
God.
Should Minnesota quarterback or
Stick came up with that. Stick came up with that. For sure.
God.
Here's the question. Should Minnesota bring back J.J. McCarthy or move forward to a different quarterback?
Both? I think J.J. McCarthy is still their first-round pick, and he still has, some physical ability, despite the fact that this season was kind of rough. I think they bring him back, but they bring someone in to give him some competition and see if they could find another person that could give him a little more time to develop, I guess, or maybe they've transitioned away from him.
Hurt the hand at the end of the game again last week. Just bad season. J-Mac, how about Cincinnati? Should Joe Burrow move forward with Cincinnati, or you think he's looking to take a step back?
He may not have a choice, but if I'm Joe Burrow, I don't want to move forward with Cincinnati. The last 3 seasons, they haven't made the playoffs, and they say, you know what, we're going to run it back exactly the same way we've done for the last 3 years. If I'm Joe Burrow, you expect something to change around you because it's insanity. You keep doing the same thing and expect different results.
And then finally, a question you might not be expecting to hear. Should Baltimore bring back both Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, Jeff Saturday?
I'm going to say yes, but only if we can dial this thing together and find our place. It does not feel like they are unified at all. And for whatever reason, even the comment after the game, I know everybody's like, oh, it's right after the game. Yeah, okay. I did it for 14 years. Somebody asked me that. There's a better answer than that. Whatever's going on is going on. If they're going to keep them both, they need to make sure they get that fixed.
Let me play it so people know what you're talking about. After an excruciating loss to Pittsburgh on a missed field goal with no time left that ends their season, Lamar Jackson was asked if Harbaugh should return next year. And to Jeff's point, this is how he replied.
Do you want to see John remain the coach next year?
That's you asking me about next year, Jameson. Like, I'm so caught up in what just happened tonight. I can't focus on that right now. I just told you. Like, he asked me, "Are you stunned?" I'm stunned right now. I'm still trying to process what's going on. Like, I know we lost, but what the that's all.
Yeah. Nah.
Well, that's not a hard question to answer, no matter what. Like, you can just say, yep, no, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
You could have just said that.
I haven't gotten that far, though. Like, if Lamar's still standing on the field waiting for the kick to go through the uprights, and y'all ask me about that. I don't care about the future of my quarterback right now. I'm upset. I'm a 2-time MVP, and now that second week of January, I'm going to be at home watching, and y'all asking me about John Harbaugh.
You are fabricating.
He's at that podium saying, I'm a 2-time MVP. No.
Right. No.
Do you want your coach back next year? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
Yeah, I hope we can all get back. You know, almost going to happen in the offseason. Things change. We get it. It's a crazy business. Come on.
See how coherent that statement is?
Yes.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Or that's not my job. I work here. I do the best I can to do my job. I'm going to play as hard as I can for whoever the coach is. That's a decision for somebody else.
That means you send
we would have had the same. Reaction.
No, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the question that we're asking here, because I'm hearing a lot of things being said here, and there's a part of me that kind of agrees with everything everyone is saying. Do we think that Lamar Jackson specifically didn't answer that question the way some of us think he could have because he doesn't really want John Harbaugh back? Is that what we're saying?
I guess in Lamar's defense, in the argument for what J-Mac is saying is that Lamar could have just lied and said, yeah, I want him back. Like, I think that in order to avoid all this other stuff. The fact that he said that, like, that suggests that possibly that's how he's actually feeling. I think all of us recognize that that question wasn't a surprise. And if he wanted to avoid the drama afterwards, he could have said, he could have told us.
For 8 weeks, we had been talking about Mike Tomlin and Harbaugh getting fired.
Yeah.
This is not a surprise question. I'm sure he had been asked this even before in the locker room at some point. Like, there is no shock and surprise. I get, like, man, the game just ended. We flared a field goal, whatever it is. But it's not like this is a brand new question, out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't think his response was calculated. Like, I'm going to say this and then create this.
No.
I don't think that's what happened. I think his response was authentic. But the fact that the authentic response wasn't, oh, yeah, of course.
Exactly.
I think is a little bit telling that maybe not everything there is, hunky-dory. I think there are some questions about what's going on behind the scenes there with him. I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions that organization has to answer. It's a good organization. They will probably answer them correctly, but I do think there are some tough conversations that have to be had.
I also think there's something to being in that moment. You may not feel like you want him to be your head coach as you just lost that game, but give it a few days, give it a week, have a conversation, an exit meeting, you may feel differently. So I think in the moment right there for Lamar Jackson, how crazy this season has been for them. The journey of, to start the season, the offense was rolling, the defense couldn't figure it out. Defense figures out, Lamar comes back, then the offense isn't playing well. So I think right there in that moment, I may not want to give a stamp of approval to John Harbaugh because of how I'm feeling right now, but you fast forward and some time goes by, you may feel differently.
He's just not happy about anything.
You put on top of it,
right,
the story about Lamar's leadership that came out, like those things don't come out of nowhere. I think that he's also probably a little harmed by that. So, like, all things considered, you could say that he handled that about as well as you could expect someone coming off of a tough loss in knowing that at least someone in the organization is not 100% in support of you, because that story, that's just not out of nowhere.
No, for sure. And at the end of this, somebody's job is in jeopardy over the next 4 days, whether it's Harbaugh, whether it's OCs, DC, somebody, because you don't go the way they've gone and everybody just goes scot-free.
And in the few seconds that I have here for the audience, those who don't know, look, Lamar's contract situation is also an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
2 years left on his contract. The salary cap number goes up to almost $75 million next year. So with 2 years left, you would think they'd discuss an extension, brings his contract in line with the top of the market. We'll see. If they do that, then great. If they don't, then that calls his future there into question.
He represents himself, which makes it even more difficult, right? The last time didn't go smoothly. So all of those things are in play as you know, the offseason.
Yeah, remember the last contract go around he had? We had to basically put in 5 different teams.